Coming in hot, definitely. Got it. Hello and welcome back to the Single Malt Frontier, where we explore the edge of innovation in American single malt whiskey. Here on the show, we do a little bit of tasting and a lot of talking. Usually we talk about whiskey, but the best thing about whiskey is the conversations that we get to have along the way. And we get to talking about a little bit of everything. Today, our guest is Jonathan Odde, whiskey director for the Burns Pub and Little Wolf in Denver, Colorado, also part owner of each. He originally came into the hospitality business, I believe, first with the Burns Pub, but if it goes back farther than that, I'm sure he'll let us know. And the Burns Pub has a wonderful Scotch selection, and I got a chance to visit there when I was visiting Denver for ACSA 2024 in Denver.
With Joe O'Sullivan.
And yes, and we had dinner together. I met Jonathan via mutual acquaintance, and we had dinner together with Joseph O'Sullivan. So Jonathan met me and Joseph O'Sullivan on the same night, which is fun. And when we were talking about what are we going to pour tonight, we basically said we should just try stuff that has a different flavor profile from all across the country. And we came up with McCarthy's, of course. And not too long after that, also Minden Mill. And then I said, hey, fun thing, those are both Joseph O'Sullivan whiskeys, essentially. Joseph O'Sullivan was involved in both, and we met Joseph on the same night. So that felt appropriate. Unfortunately, we had to change our plan of what we're going to taste tonight because samples didn't get delivered on time. And whiskey needed to move around. So we'll talk some about Minden Mill. Jonathan, of course, knows his stock very well. But we do have a nice tasting tonight. So if anybody who's listening wants to grab whiskeys to taste along, we are going to have some Westland. We are going to have some Boulder. We're going to have McCarthy's. Spirit Hound will be involved. I might pour a Westward. Or really, because this is just a celebration of American single malt, broadly speaking, feel free to bring in and pour whatever you want and let us know in chat what you are drinking. And sound off in chat if we're live and everything's good, because I haven't seen any comments since we actually went live, which concerns me. Okay, cool. Donut Fisher has everything. Yes, awesome. Donut Fisher's collection, I think, is bigger than mine at this point. At least if you restrict to American single malt, I think he has more stuff than I do. Yeah, cool. All right. So with no further ado, I'd love to turn it over to Jonathan to just give us a little bit of background about how you came to making the world's first American single malt whiskey bar.
It actually does start at Burns. It was basically, I to go back to what you were saying before, I've been in the hospitality industry for a long time. But the Burns was the first one that we really, we had a pizza place in Boulder for a little while as well, but didn't jive too well with what we were doing or what the family wanted to do, and I wanted to do something that was unique, especially for this area, and that was yes, a whiskey bar, yes, a Scotch bar, which isn't unique, but we wanted to really to do elevated food from the UK, and just kind of create a very authentic vibe. My mom was from Northampton, England, raised in England. Relatives, family from all over the UK. My grandmother, who from my father's side, is a Burns, and that's where the name comes from. It's not named after Robert Burns, which a lot of people, immediately and understandably jump to, but that it's actually a family name. And that was my grandmother's side, or my grandmother rather. And but what we wanted to do was create scratch-made food. The food that I grew up with, and I knew the reputation of UK food was not great. So,
the stereotypical bland.
Right, yeah, but bland, overcooked, boiled this, that, whatever. So that's not the food that I grew up on in the UK. Not my mother's cooking, not my aunt's cooking, any of it. So what we wanted to do was, my mother and father and I wanted to create a kitchen that was, things from scratch and build it from there. So some of them are family recipes, and we have some, some American stuff thrown in there as well. But that was the unique aspect of the Burns Pub, and it's why it's so successful. Anglophiles go to get some proper homemade cooking.
Yeah.
Also, we have about 600 whiskeys, and that's where my biggest influence came in was on the whiskey side of things. Big Scotch fanatic, and at the time, American single malts were kind of in their infancy. I say that, I mean, it was 2011, and this whiskey, actually the whiskey that I'm going to be drinking in just a moment here, is from a distillery that's also started the same year. I'm sorry, we started the same year. It was 2011. In fact, it started the same month, if I'm not mistaken. It was Spirit Hound. But there were only a handful of distilleries in the States at the time. I was a big fan of McCarthy's already. I'd been to the distillery because I'm from the Pacific Northwest, and or lived there for a while anyway, and had visited the distillery and actually drank the distillate fresh off the still. It's fantastic. In fact, that may have been the first time I met Joe Sullivan. So, but I'm not 100% sure. It was it was a long time ago. But and so that the single malt thing. I mean, we probably have we've got 600 whiskeys, and maybe 10 of them are blended scotches. So the rest of it there's obviously quite a bit of American whiskey and Irish whiskey, Japanese whiskey, world whiskey from all over. But primarily our focus is on single malt Scotch. But and if you remember when you came, there were quite a few American single malts, and this was not a it was something that I had been trying to get people. We've done American single malt whiskey tastings, stuff like that, at the pub for quite a while, and we're really trying to get people aware of it, and aware of and I think the most important thing about it, which is the variety of flavors, and just the nature of American single malt whiskey, and just the broad range of what you can what the category provides. And so what eventually ended up happening was I was talking to my friend Clark Boyer, who longtime whiskey professional, worked for Glenmorangie. He was one of the original distillers at Stranahan's. He has a long history of whiskey and American single malt, obviously with Stranahan's, and so we got to talking, and we wanted to open up a restaurant. Now, this was at the end of 2024, and beginning of 2025. We decided that the focus was going to be on American single malt whiskeys. It was my idea, but Clark loved it, so we decided that that's what we were going to do. And it wasn't initially the idea to become the world's first American single malt whiskey bar, but it did cross our minds. So we said, you know what, we might be the very first American single malt whiskey bar. There obviously were the bars at the distilleries and everything that focused on their product, but there wasn't a lot of places to get 30, 40, 50 different brands of American single malt. So that was kind of what we set out to do, and it was, you know, um, did was quite a bit of thought put into it, obviously, but and how we wanted the food to look and everything like that. But our area of expertise was American single malts, cocktails, stuff like that. So that's basically it. That's how we came to be.
Awesome. Before we get into discussing, I'm gonna just play some roll call here. Donut Fisher was the first in the chat, as always. And then when we were 2 minutes late, Bueller. But hey, at least we said we're starting 15 after instead of saying it was 5 and then waiting 20 minutes.
Right.
Ethan, good to see you. Carrie's hanging out. Awesome. I know there's other lurkers in there for sure, but that's all we've got right now. Hello again. Donut Fisher, known as Patrick in real life, says he met Jonathan and Clark at Little Wolf.
Oh, did you?
That's cool. Yeah, after drinking the first Little Wolf pour was Hogback Wallace collection, and he detoured his trip to go to Estes Park for the Hogback Wallace collection bottle.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, my first question is, like, you look at Little Wolf, it was previously a Brazilian restaurant.
Correct. Yeah.
And it is, while it is the world's first American single malt whiskey bar, it also is at least equally a restaurant.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I just wanted to, like, sort of get the idea behind, is it that the restaurant is the best way to get people in the door? As opposed to just saying, hey, we're an American single malt whiskey bar. If you come here, you're drinking American single malt whiskey, and, like, that's all there is.
It's partly that. When we started out, we kind of viewed it as, we'd hoped that it would be, equal. A lot of people coming for that, for the bar and the cocktails and American single malt whiskey, but we wanted the food to be great, and I always knew that the food had to be a big part of it. Especially a place of that size. It's not a small place. So we wanted to do a larger, or we wanted to do a higher volume. We had to. I mean, that's the only way to make it work. So whiskey is, as much as we love it right now, is on a little bit of a downturn. People aren't much in general, but they are eating still, and they're not spending as much at restaurants like they used to. But it's still it's still a big draw. So what we had originally and had intended, as far as the food was concerned, was to do some kind of very eclectic, and this was directly related to American single malt whiskey, was having an eclectic range of food, an eclectic range of fare from all over the world, and all scratch made, and just so that was the idea behind it, and it was very well received. People loved it, but it wasn't friendly for lunch business. It wasn't friendly for volume and everything like that, and that's fine. So it eventually we started doing burgers, and they're excellent burgers. They're and as well as other things as well, but primarily burgers, and they're cold smoked, locally grown Wagyu burgers, and they're excellent, very good burgers. But we've got great gumbos and all sorts of other things now too, and that has really kind of brought that concept of the lunch and dinner together, and yet we still are putting out great cocktails and great selection of American single malt whiskeys as well. So that was, food has definitely got to be a big part of a place that size. It's just, it's a big place. When
Mhm.
you go, you'll see. There's two sides of it, and it's it seats over 100 people. So
So do you build the menu to go with the whiskey? Like, do you have like whiskey food pairings, anything like that?
that's originally what we did. Yeah, that was originally the concept. We're not. I don't think we're doing food pairings so much anymore. But the food goes very well with the whiskeys. It's it's you can get smoked burgers. We've got mesquite smoked burgers, which is a big you know um, great pairing for a lot of American single malts. And we obviously you've got distilleries that are using mesquite for American single malt whiskey, but rather than that kind of shift over to that American style, if you will, those kind of another one is those kind of barbecuey notes that you get from Gariana oak and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it pairs very well with the whiskeys as well. The cocktails do. Uh, we have a lot of cocktails that feature American single malt whiskeys, and we have what are called right now. We're doing actually have been for a long time. What's called the 10-4 whiskey uh, uh, or 10-4 whiskey cocktails. Those are classic whiskey preparations um, that are that primarily use American single malt whiskey. We're doing, the flagship Westward and original, and several other. I'm not sure exactly all of them that were on there, and then we have like a bourbon and a rye and a Scotch, I think, but primarily they're all American single malt whiskeys. So for the old fashions, Manhattans, and the like. So
So when you were building the cocktail menu, did you have a particular single malt in mind for building cocktails, or did you just have a spec and experiment?
for the 10-4s, we just picked ones that would create interesting flavor profiles. Like for instance, you can do a McCarthy's, and you can also do a Hinter House, and talking about very different ends of the spectrum there,
Hmm.
and stuff in between the Westward and um, uh, I believe Balcones lineage is in there as well. So we're trying to get. Oh, we also have the cider cask from Virginia uh, distilling.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's trying to get some, to show the diversity. You can get the same cocktail, but get it with 3 or 4 different American single malt whiskeys and see that there's a big difference between them. So
All right. Uh, when you, I guess, when you discovered American single malt, what was it that drew you to the category? Was it a particular whiskey? Was it the concept?
well, like I said, I was a Scotch fan from way back. So, but the the first one I ever had was McCarthy's. It was that this is going back when I was living up in Seattle. My friends weren't whiskey aficionados or anything like that, but I still would go to the liquor store and pick up a really nice whiskey every once in a while. Came across McCarthy's back in the early 2000s, I think it was, and that was the one that started it all for me. Still my favorite distillery, but excuse me, sorry about that. Still my favorite distillery, but I turned that on. So there we go. Yeah, I've got a lot of other distilleries that I'm crazy about. One of them is sitting right in front of me. I love Spirit Hound, and there's several other distilleries that I'm very big on. But McCarthy's number one always has that place in my heart. Number two, it was not just because it was a gateway, but because it's just my style of whiskey. I do love a nice peaty whiskey, um, but I love what they're doing now. I think that back in those days, it was the standard McCarthy's. It was they didn't have the PX and the Oloroso. So yeah, there you go. That's beauty right there. Um, you know, hard to improve on that, but they did, and they diversified and gave such the rum cask is incredible. That I think that's one of the my favorite whiskeys, bar none. Period. And so yeah, that's kind of what started it, and then it kind of, moved into started when I opened up the Burns, started realizing, well, there's all these other Cedar Ridge and all these other distilleries out there that are starting to produce single malt whiskeys, and there's no category for it back at the beginning. And then of course the commission came around in 2016. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, is that the number 5? Yeah.
That's the number 5. That's the most recent one we got.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the cigar malt too. It's a stellar whiskey. But and the Tokai cask, fantastic.
Love it. I love both of those.
Yeah. So so that's just kind of started generating more and more interest. I'm good friends with Ryan Negley, have been for a long time, and and his passion for it is rubbed off on me for sure. And I Ryan actually works at the Burns now, and
nice.
I when people ask me, yeah, Ryan works for you now, right? And I said, no, Ryan works with me. Somebody like Ryan, you work with Ryan. He's just such a great, knowledgeable guy, and he's so that's that's a friendship that kind of got me started on it, and his passion for it got me and so I started picking up more and more of it at the Burns, and started really trying to get people interested in it well before it officially became a category, and so now here we are, and it's good job, guys. We've got I think one of the most intriguing categories in all of spirits, let alone just whiskey. It's a fantastic category.
So people are starting to put stuff in the glass. Since we just talked about Ryan Negley, we will get back to that McCarthy's rum cask, and thank you very much for your kind words about our barrel pick. But I feel like we should pour the Boulder, the 10 Essentials first.
That's what I've got right here. Yeah.
And I'm going to pour it into my ACSA glass because that's where I met Ryan. As long as we're sharing stories about how we got into this, we have some touch points here because Joseph O'Sullivan essentially is the person who supported me becoming a whiskey media person, so to speak. Made me some initial connections. And I'm not quite sure how Ryan Negley found me, but he personally invited me to attend ACSA 2024.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a bummer to see that he's no longer at Boulder, because all of these blends are quite honestly great work, but he's creating for other people now, so that's awesome.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job, an unbelievable job of that Onyx Amber blend that he did. Is just excellent. And so he's 2 or 3 days a week. You could catch him at Burns Pub, and he's still it's great to have people like Ryan and Jasper, who also is certified um, whiskey somm at the Burns, because I don't have to be always there, always the one to go out and do the recommendations. I've got people that I can trust, and I know that we're in good hands. That is one of the things at Burns, is that we've always been very big on the education side of the things. We're not just about the number of whiskeys that we have. It's about 600, but it could be 300, 400. It's all about the knowledge that we can give to everybody, and the careful curation. It's not just shotgun. We're trying to cultivate a interesting experience and an interesting selection of whiskeys.
So how do you go about, I guess, the elevator pitch on people come into the bar, they want to try a whiskey, or they have questions about all these whiskeys. I think my biggest problem is I will never shut up. But right in when you're running a bar and restaurant, you've got to be quick and clean with the education. Tell people what they need to know so they can make a choice. How do you approach that?
Well, if they come in looking for a suggestion, I typically like to start off with understanding what their background is, and I don't mean like the full dissertation, just kind of like what do you typically drink? If you start off with if it's, let's say it's a Little Wolf, I typically drink I'm a bourbon drinker, but where do I go from there? If I want to explore American single malt whiskeys, or which I think Minden Mill is a fantastic gateway for bourbon drinkers. Just that'll get a bourbon drinker to really understand how complex an American single malt can be, and still have some of those characteristics that of their beloved bourbons. So, but and then I try to figure out what is their price point. Exactly, fantastic stuff. What is their price point? What kind of Westward is another one, by the way. What is their price point? What type of experience are they looking for? And that's basically those starting points. If they're more advanced, if they do know a thing or two about it, then we talk a little bit more and try and figure out what they've had, and what kind of maybe they're a Scotch drinker and they love their sherry bombs or something like that. So that's great, because I've got a Westland for you. Something like that. So yeah, that's kind of the route I take, is just trying to find out what your background, where your flavor profile, your taste buds are. Where they your what really kind of makes your mind go, I love that. And get passionate about this is when you're really gonna love, because it's and I can do that with confidence that if I know what you're into, then I've been judging competitions for a decade, and I get a good idea for what people's palate is, what they like, just by what they typically drink. If they don't really know, then maybe we'll start off with something nice and easy, like a Hinter House, a good example, something like that. Maybe or that cider cask from Virginia Distilling, something like that, just to kind of start them off on the lighter side. Some people don't even want that. Some people want to just dive right in, get a nice chunky, meaty American single malt. Let's see what it's really all about, And when you do that, yeah, it gets me excited, because now this is somebody that really wants to experience it. So and that's we can do flights. We got loads of flights at both places. We have a lot of American single malt whiskey flights at Little Wolf, obviously. So you can try stuff just from Colorado, because Colorado has so many great um, American single malt whiskey distilleries. Um, we've got stuff, with different types of cask finishes. We've got, stuff for the people who like smoky stuff. That's so that's kind of where I would say, find out if they want to do a flight. If they have because we've got a flight that's probably in your range of what you're looking for, and you get to taste a few different ones, not as much of each, but you get to taste them and see which ones you like. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of where I start is trying to figure out where they're, what makes their what makes them, you know, happy, their happiest place, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always looked at the whiskey experience as less about the details. I can sit here and knows this 10 essentials. I can baked apple right off the front, sultanas, um, kind of a buttery bread kind of thing going on as well. And you can pick up that's important for people like me, but
Hmm.
for most people, where does it take you? Where is it gonna where is it gonna take you? Where you're is it gonna transport you somewhere, or are you gonna just say, that's nice, that kind of thing. So I whenever first thing that always pops into my mind when I'm nosing a spirit for the first time is, where is this taking me? Is this taking me to an orchard field? To an orchard somewhere that just that fresh smell in the air, and um, or is it taking me to a sandy beach somewhere? That's always, I think, the most important thing is the ability to be transported by a spirit, and that's uh, you know and that's I think the most important thing. Uh, by far, the second most important thing is dissecting everything. It's important, like I said, to me, it's important for what I do, but for most people, it's really about the experience and how it makes them feel. You know.
Yeah, that's a great point. I sort of got into, I guess, whiskey media as just an amateur reviewer, and I was really big on writing detailed tasting notes, which, like, is performative in a way. I mean, everybody criticizes tasting notes for being so detailed and so specific and so weird as to be useless to most people. But what it's not useless for is developing the palate of the writer of the review. um
Right.
letting you kind of connect your subjective experience, which is just taste, and turn it into something that you can intellectualize and connect to other things, to the point where it got to a place where I didn't feel the need to write tasting notes in order to remember a whiskey anymore.
Yeah.
And to be able to if somebody says, they come over, I serve them a couple of things that, mostly, what do you want to try? Does anything look good to you? Do you want to explore a particular flavor? And then we'll try something, maybe a couple of things, and based on what they tell me, I'll tend to recommend something that I think is going to be, if they seem open to exploring to exploration, then find something that's a contrast. If they seem like they vibe with a particular flavor note or direction, find something similar that still adds a little bit of interest. And I can do that without over analyzing tasting notes and like feeding them tasting notes that I think it tastes like. Unless, on the other hand, there's something to be said for, you get a couple of people who do tasting notes together. drinking a whiskey together, that can be a big part of the enjoyment of the experience, right? Where you
Yeah.
feed tasting notes to each other and that enhances the experience. Or you say, this reminds me of this experience, or this reminds me of this other whiskey, right? It's a social lubricant, not because of the intoxicating effect, but because of the conversations you get to have,
Yeah.
whatever those happen to be, whether it's just about the whiskey or whether it's about that funny memory that popped up.
Yeah. Well, and to that point, I mean, I've got a group of other whiskey professionals and whiskey. It's certainly, whether they're professionals or not, or experts for sure. And we get together semi regularly. We used to be more regularly, but lives get in the way, that kind of thing. But when we get together, that experience we were just explaining, we'll outwardly come out and say, this is what I'm getting, and this is what I'm tasting, this is what I'm nosing, and you know, do you get that as well? And we can freely discuss it, because the, the chances are they're not wrong, and maybe you're not getting it immediately, or you're not getting whatever. But it's part of the banter, it's part of the fun, it's part of the enjoyment of experiencing it with your friends. But when I'm judging a competition, on the other hand, very different, very different. Let's not talk. I don't want to talk while we're tasting. I'm going to experience it. There may be a wow, okay, something like that. At at our tables, we don't want to influence what other people are thinking, or what they're going to judge it as, or something like that. We're trying to um, uh, trying to come up with our own conclusions, independent of each other. And then when at the end we'll discuss it. But while we're tasting it, what is this whiskey? What is it? Getting that consensus is an end of process thing, and not during the process. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. If I'm One reason I don't write tasting notes anymore personally is because I need to be solo and uninterrupted. And I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of time for that. And I personally, as an extrovert, prefer to be socializing. So I don't so much have the urge to go sit in a room by myself for an hour and write tasting notes. Different, yeah, I kind of used to, right? A very socially demanding job, I think, and also in the early pandemic times where everything moved to online meetings. I was very much socially exhausted by doing. I mean, here we are on a video call, right? We've gotten so used to it now. This doesn't feel too exhausting to me. But back in those early days where you went from in-person meetings to video meetings,
Yeah.
that took a lot. And so writing whiskey reviews was kind of my escape at the end of the day. This is my chance to sit alone by myself in a room and focus on something that is not work or that is not social.
Right.
I feel very differently now, where I would much rather have a glass of whiskey with somebody else and really don't drink all that much by myself.
Not a I drink alone kind of guy.
Nah, that's
Uh,
kind of always been well, pandemic changed it, but my rule originally was don't drink alone.
yeah.
And then because there was no way to drink in the room with somebody else for a while, the rule became don't drink if nobody knows I'm drinking, right? At least let there be a social component, right? And hence
Right.
Discord and things like that. So like you're always saying like, here, I'm pouring this. Is anybody else drinking something right now? Let's talk about it, even if it's just chatting online.
Yeah. Well, it's also a good way to keep yourself from going overboard, right?
Mhm.
You, you can limit yourself that way, which is not a
Yeah, it
bad.
turns out the effort of posting about what you're drinking slows you down quite a lot.
Yeah, it does.
So
I'll put on
back,
the next one, by the way, just so you know. I really enjoy that 10 Essentials. It's great
Yeah.
whiskey. But yeah, I've got my flight here. I think I'm on the. Oh yeah. I'm on the Palo Cortado from this is the bottled and bond expression from Spirit Hound. that you were supposed to receive today.
Yep.
Fortunately,
I'm really looking forward to trying that when it gets here. But in the meantime, I'm personally going to pour the Minden Mill while we keep chatting, and maybe
sure,
we can talk a little bit about both.
That's a good idea.
be happy to.
So back to the topic of, like, whiskey transporting you. That's one of the things that is sort of a little bit of a subjective element of reviews that I find the most interesting is people talking about where it takes them to, because that's really an element of, like, personal memory. Like, for example, the Boulder Spirits 7-year-old, instantly takes me to the top of Duncan Knob in Virginia in about mid-October, because it's got that beautiful, like, fresh air and fall leaf, turning of the leaves and leaf duff that really, to me, evokes just that place and time of year. But that is a memory that may be entirely unique to me.
Well, to your point, I'm sipping on this Palo Cortado, and it's taking me to my uh, my aunt's kitchen. Who she liked she liked to bake things, and there's spices and everything like that in the air. So that's my experience with that is specifically that one place, and that's where it took me immediately right off the nose, especially on as I sipped it. Those kind of underlying, you know, baking spice notes, and I'm not being specific on that. It's just that's where it takes me, right? And that's my own personal experiences, and there's probably some other places that will take me, especially after adding a little bit of water. But that transportive element, you're right, is a very individual thing. It's a very it's something that brings memories. I've had whiskeys, and it's brought back memories that I had completely forgotten about. Stuff like that, and that's something that's let's face it, whether it's something that we're conscious of or not, it's something that is the reason why we love it. It's something that it's that connection to um, our histories, that transportation, that beach that we used to go to when we were kids, stuff like that. Um, Cape Cod is one that comes up a lot for me. When I was younger, I used to go out, and there are a lot of scotches that take me to that Cape Cod coast, where we used to dig up clams with our toes, take them back, and make my grandpa's clam chowder, and so yeah, it's a very personal thing, and it is, at the very minimum, a element of why we love the spirit so much. And I can't think of any other spirit that does that great of a job, on as far as the different places that it can take you. Rum, for me, rum has that same effect, but it's not as diverse with rum, if that makes sense. The rum might take me to a candy store. It may take me to, some tropical place, or something like that. But it doesn't have the variety of places that whiskey can take you. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think rum has probably the second to whiskey. Rum is also, I like to say, I enjoy rum. Rum is like a vacation from whiskey, but whiskey is home.
Right.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, whiskey is home in every possible imaginable way, right? Like it just gives you so much variety, especially
Really.
single malt.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is something that, it's one of those things that drinkers don't like to hear. And I'm not um, knocking bourbon at all. I love bourbon. It's a great spirit, but in the end, it just doesn't have the variety, and it's very limited by the components that make it up and the process that uh, it utilizes. Now they're using port casks and sherry casks and finishes now, but you know even still, it's kind of hard to get away from that fresh charred oak, that new oak, and it's. Go ahead, Phil.
I was going to say, you won't talk down on bourbon, but I will. It is for years has been developed into a commodity grain product that is designed to extract as much possible from oak, and that is really its primary goal for a lot of the major producers. There are a lot of smaller producers that are doing fantastic stuff, working with heritage grain and varying char level on barrels to get a better balance of like wonderful grain profile and oak. But for so much of what is on the shelves, it really is a mission of extracting as much from the oak as possible and getting as little grain character as possible because they are using, the commodity corn that's grown more for like weather resistance and yield and less
Mm,
for the elements within it that create flavor.
true. Yeah, and it's like I said, I love bourbon, but the fact of the matter is that it is limited, and for those reasons you just mentioned, you know, if not more. But it is limited in what you can get from it. Now, if that's the note that you love, it's some people listen to the same type of music their whole life, and it's familiar to them. It's their that trusty. Well, what is the our brain loves familiarity. Our brain loves repetition, and some people are built that way, and nothing wrong with it. There's that comfort zone. I have my own comfort zones, the things that provide comfort for me. But in the end, uh, I do like the adventure of where whiskey can take you, and that's what I love so much about American single malts, is that you're you're dealing with a category that was literally designed to explore, to go out and boldly go where no whiskey has gone before, and do it without sacrificing craft, without sacrificing um, integrity, and that's something that really no other category can say. Even single malt Scotch, which is my first love, it always will be, and it's still, you know, Springbank is my favorite distillery of all time, always will be. It's not going to change, but Springbank is an outlier in a lot of the Scotch world because of its insistence on integrity. So it's the same reasons why I'm gravitating towards American single malt whiskey. And so that's really all of the when you look at um, how Scotch is uh, regulated and the allowance of caramel coloring and you know the chill filtration, all that stuff. It's not That's not an integral way to produce whiskey. It's allowed, and it's not that everybody does it because a lot of distilleries don't, and they refuse to. But there are still a lot of distilleries, and when you've got a category that was literally designed to explore without the loss of integrity, without the I'm sure there are going to be some distilleries out there that are going to push those boundaries, but the category is really designed for high integrity spirit. So, and I love that about it. I think it's great.
Absolutely, man. I could get myself in trouble saying things about certain brands that let's say it is possible and it does get done.
I'm not mentioning names. Yeah.
there are some American single malts which do not reach to that integrity level. And then complain about the fact even that barley doesn't have a strong enough flavor.
Right.
And there are brands that just sort of aren't terribly enjoyable.
Yes.
That we won't name.
Is there,
I don't even know what you're hinting at because I don't recognize that.
Yeah.
It's one that you don't have, Doug.
Okay.
It's,
is that the
Well, let's talk about some that do.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to go back just real quick because we were talking about the bolder spirits transporting you someplace. And usually when I'm tasting a whiskey, like if it yanks me somewhere, I go with it. But when I'm usually just like saying, what does it taste like? What foods or drinks does this remind me of? But when you reminded me to just see where it takes you, the 10 essentials kind of took me weirdly back to like a playground as a kid. Like I get bubble gum on it and like graham crackers, and that just reminds me of like a day in the park.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. And it may not even hit you that that's what's taking you there, but it takes you there. And that's what's so cool about it. I love it. And yeah. I mean, I think the one I was talking about when I was talking about my aunt's kitchen was the bold, where it was the Spirit Hound Palo Cortado. This is it's Spirit Hound is one of those distilleries that when people always ask me what my favorite distilleries are, I sometimes catch myself thinking, who should I be?
You drank whiskey as a kid? No. No. I had bubble gum and graham crackers as a kid. To be clear.
Hopefully
to be abundantly clear.
It wasn't bubble gum. It was but yeah, so I always I sometimes think who should I be telling, because it's like, well, you don't want to tell them somebody that, or some distillery that are a bunch of complete jerks, and he was like, yeah, I met the distiller, and man, what a jackass he was, or something like that. But the great thing about Spirit Hound is I'm good friends with Craig Engelhorn, and I love what he's doing, and that's one of those things that I think he's a fantastic individual. I think he's a fantastic distiller. I think that he's got a great palate for what he's trying to accomplish, and he's producing a fantastic product. And then there's no anything about what he's doing that I can say, that would give me any reason to pause in recommending people to try it, because it's just fantastic spirit, fantastic people, and that's and this one, like I said, is one of my favorites right now. I mean, just easily top 5 ASMWs, for probably top 5 whiskeys period right now. And I've been drinking it for the last about a year, I think, and I just love it. And it
has some staying power too.
It really does, yeah. It's just it's one of those ones I always have around. I happen to have, I actually drank my bottle, but I did have a sample, so I've got it tonight. So, but yeah, it's one of those ones definitely keep around the house. And that's, are there distilleries out there that we that I feel a little dirty about recommending? Yeah, probably, but they produce a great spirit, and that's the important thing for the consumer. That's the important thing for so long as they're producing great whiskey, I'm still going to recommend it. But
Yep.
yeah, that's
Jonathan Fisher wants. This is the Spirit Hound Palo Cortado bottle and bond, right?
yeah, yeah, it's just brilliant. So yeah, that's that's one of those. I'm going to say one of the outliers because there are so many great people in the industry. I've met so many wonderful distillers, people that ambassadors and everything like that throughout the years. That it's there's. I think the outlier are the people that aren't the greatest people, but it's just great when you have people like Craig, people like or distilleries like Spirit Hound that are just producing stellar spirit and deserve all the recognition and accolades that they get. They won some great awards, and I don't know which whiskeys they won. They won one of them was Best American Whiskey in London. Tiny little distillery out in Lyons, Colorado, and they won Best American Whiskey at the London. I can't remember the name of the competition, but yeah, just
Was that the International Whiskey Spirits Competition, or
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think that sounds about right.
That's a good one. That's highly regarded, right?
Yeah, big name competition for sure. Yeah. So
I guess since you've been drinking the Palo Cortado for a year, maybe you could comment on batch variants. Patrick is wondering if he's got barrel 2 or batch 2. Do you notice there's much difference?
He's got 2. Yes, there is a little bit of a difference to 3, but I find the new one to be just a little bit more bold. I think they're both brilliant. I think they're both excellent, but the new one's just a little bit richer. So yeah, I get more of a sarsaparilla note on the finish on the new one on 3 than I did on 2. But 2 was brilliant. I thought it was great. Did you enjoy it? What was your thoughts on batch 2?
Yeah, while we wait for that question to come in and get answered.
I don't know.
Typing.
Oh,
He did say earlier.
Yeah, love this. Have it in the glass. Yep. Surely there's more detailed thoughts than that, though. Anyway,
where does it take you?
Yeah, it takes him to Colorado.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I had a question that has now escaped me, but now might be a good time to get the next whiskey in the glass.
Sure.
Shall we go on to the Westland?
Yeah, that's what I'm on.
I'm just lagging behind then.
Well, no, I just picked it up.
Yeah, this one, single cast number 2635, PX Hogshead, 55.3%, 7 years old. By strange coincidence, Jonathan and I actually had the same same single cask from several years ago. Did you just opened yours, right?
Yeah, it's this.
Mine I did as a split with my local group, so I had 8 ounces, or yeah, I think that's 8 ounces.
Most of what I'm drinking tonight is samples, so yeah, but that's one that I've been waiting to open up, and what better time to open it up than with you guys?
So I mean, I don't want to, because this is brand new to you. I'd love to give you a chance to do tasting notes before I start shouting things at you. But there's a few things about this one I really love.
What's that?
There's a few things about this one I really love.
Okay.
So first of all, it's a sherry bomb.
Yeah,
undeniably. Sherry bomb with the
Big,
best of cherry bombs. Really high quality sherry cask, you can tell.
no question.
But it still undeniably has that Westland. I don't know. I don't have the grain bill on this one, but I suspect it's the 5 malt,
Okay.
same as the flagship. But that Westland character really comes in. Like they've got this sharp barrel note that comes across on the nose and on the finish. And if there's too much of it, that immediately puts me off of a bottle of Westland. But this has the right amount
Mm.
where it tells you the identity, the distillery character, the identity of the whiskey without being overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, that's a big, rich sherry bomb for sure. Lots of fig and
Yeah, that's a great question to
real.
pivot to, Carrie. So any chance that Little Wolf will do cask selects from an ASM distillery or distilleries you cherish?
That's a great question because I've been talking to a couple of people recently about doing a single cask expression. I've been kind of, I don't want to say dragging my feet on it. I've been busy. And there's an announcement that I'll be making pretty soon. That is a big announcement. But that is something that is in the works. In fact, what is that? Oh, there we go. I have been definitely discussing it. Yes. So is there a chance? There's a very good chance, but I don't know how soon it will be. These things do tend to take a little bit of time, but I would imagine probably within the year. And there's even been discussion about doing a couple, 2 or 3 of them. So just keep an ear out. We're not going to try to get into the independent bottling game or anything, but I think that it'd be great to do some single cask ASMWs. But it's got to be something that won't break the bank too much. But at the same time, we want to make sure it's if it is, then it's going to be a really great whiskey, really great product. But yeah, definitely look forward to doing something that in the near future.
So here's a question that kind of segues into another question. When you're thinking about who you're going to work with as a distillery, do you think of that as an opportunity to get something that's a little harder for you to get normally, or is it just far easier for you to go through the usual the same distilleries, the usual distribution channels? And then the other question was we were talking a little bit about distribution being a challenge for like what you would really like to carry at the bar. And I guess it's sort of 2 separate questions, but
Well, first question was, is it difficult?
would you use a single cask as a way of getting something that's a little more difficult to get usually, or would you stick with the same distribution channels?
I see what you're saying. We have to in Colorado, because of the way that everything's set up here. We have to go for single cast. It has to be something that would go through a distribution channel. I wish I could go to, say Andalusia or Bird Creek or something like that. They don't distribute in Colorado, unfortunately. We're going to be we're going to carry. Well, we either already do or are going to be carrying some whiskeys that aren't available through the distribution channels because we have some allowance on that. But if you're going to do a full cask, unfortunately, we're limited. So that we have to go through one that we get distribution with. That being said, I've talked to Caitlin about doing a special expression. I've talked to briefly. Now we haven't discussed it recently, and it's definitely I'm going to be. If you're listening, Caitlin, I'm going to be talking to you soon. But it is something that
She may be. She usually does have this on at the end of the day, but it's a Friday, so who knows?
But yeah, so if it's something that I can get through a distillery that does distribute in Colorado, then yeah, I have to do that, because you're talking about the kind of volume that would put you in jeopardy with the what are known as emergency purchases. So we only get an allowance of a certain amount of emergency purchases in Colorado. I can use that on those stuff like Judson and Moore, which isn't distributed here, or Copperworks, unfortunately, is not distributed here. Stuff like that. So we do get some of the stuff that's not distributed in Colorado, but something of that kind of volume, yeah, we would have to go through the distribution channels. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it answers both questions. I figured it would answer both questions. That was why it was like they're really two separate questions, but the answer to one will be the answer to the other.
Good. Yeah, and I would love to actually work with some of these other distilleries, because I have tried them. I have had them, and I think they're producing great spirit, but unfortunately, we just can't get them here. And I will say this: if any of you are not distributing in Colorado currently, I have plenty of connections. Let me know, and I'll get you in touch with some distributors that are fantastic for distributing, craft and boutique, if you will, spirits, because we'd love to carry you guys here.
Gotta sort out my glasses real quick here. Hey, Randall, welcome in. We were just talking about Andalusia, but we don't have one to hand. So I feel like I keep staring at this McCarthy 701, and I really can't wait to get it in the glass. I think it might be time.
701? Oh, yeah.
The rum cask. Yeah.
So good. It's so good. Are you drinking it right now, Phil?
I'm pouring it now.
There you go. Good man.
Yeah,
I don't have very much left of this bottle, unfortunately.
Yeah, I actually have an almost empty bottle over there, but I grabbed the full one because I don't know, reasons, right? The low bottle syndrome, that sort of stuff. Like I wanted to.
We have one at Little Wolf, but I've got one here, but or I've got two of them here, I think. But yeah, that's it for us. It's going to be a sad day when we run out of that. I'll tell you that. That was a gem. Yeah,
it is. It is unfortunately sold out now, or fortunately, depending on the side of the business you're on. Because as a person who did the pick, right, as a person who would like to buy more, it's unfortunate that it's sold out. But as a person who did the pick and pulled strings and knows the people who got me access to it, it's very good that it's sold out, right?
Yeah.
Really, when you set out to sell a product, what you really want is to sell it out.
Man,
Patrick was trying to buy the final bottle, and I told him that you can't guarantee that. So if you really want another bottle, you should buy another bottle, because you can't guarantee that last bottle.
Yeah.
But somehow he missed it, or maybe it was already sold out and just hadn't quite updated. I got it. I'll ban the scammer.
I'm hoping she's going to be releasing another one at some point. I hope they're working on another rum cast, because that was really, really special.
Oh yeah. This is hands down one of my favorite bottles that I've ever tried.
Yeah, you were saying top 5 whiskeys, and I think you said also that McCarthy's might be your favorite whiskey. McCarthy's is undeniably my favorite whiskey, favorite brand.
Well, that makes
Um,
yeah.
there are. Did you say that makes 2 of us?
That makes 3 of us. I think Phil
Yep.
said it's his favorite SMW too, right? It's not my favorite distillery because Springbank's always, like I said, but it's right up there. It's in my top 5 distilleries. Period. I mean, just what they produce is just fantastic. And initially I wasn't really hot on the PX. I'll be honest. I wasn't one of my didn't jump out at me at first. Now it's fan. I can't get enough of it. It's excellent.
I have
But
2 different batches on the shelf behind me that you can't see because of the logo. Hide the logo real quick. Those 2 orange bottles there and there
batches.
are different batches.
And what do you have a preference?
I could not say because I have not opened the newer batch yet. But I wanted to stock up because I was worried it would go the way of the dodo, and I miscalculated that apparently the Oloroso cask is the one they discontinued.
I love the Oloroso cask.
That was also really good.
Yeah.
But for me, the PX cask was one of my favorite whiskeys ever at the time. So, but for me, I love sweet and peat in the same whiskey.
Yeah, there's definitely something said for that. There's some, fantastic Isla and Campbellton whiskeys that are big, rich, those sherry bombs and with loads of peat, and they can complement each other so well. They can be a bit of a distraction too, but I think that when it's done well, it's just such a great balance.
So when I look at this flight that we did, I wouldn't be upset about presenting this flight at a private tasting. But I imagine, and this mostly came out of what do we both have that we could both talk about.
Yeah.
And I know what Phil has also. So where possible, I also made sure that Phil would have. When you're building a flight at Little Wolf, how do you go about constructing the flight? Or what's a really good flight that you'd like to show off?
Oh God, I'm not sure. Let me see here. I have to go. I can't even remember the flights I've got at Burns right now. So I can't remember either of them.
It's vibes, right? You put stuff on the menu on vibes, and then like just whatever feels good.
Well, pretty much.
There's many valid right answers to a good whiskey flight.
Well, I think a good whiskey flight it's got to have enough variety, number one, but there has to be a theme. You don't want to just be all over the place. And I think that you can do that. Like, for instance, we've got at Burns, I've got what's known as the regional flight, and it's simply the Scotch regions. So it's start in the lowlands, you get a nice softer intro, and then gradually get more and more robust, and to the sherry bombs, and then to the really peaty stuff, and that's kind of what I'd refer to as a journey flight. It kind of takes you from one end to another end. But I would say that they're typically you're trying to have some sort of apples to apples, or at least apples to pears kind of flight where you're not, you can vary, but you don't want to vary too much. You want people to be able to see, like, for instance, if you're doing like all sherry bombs, great example. You could go with those rich raisiny sherry bombs, or you could go those ones that are really strong on chocolate or cocoa notes or something like that. And my personal favorite, I think, at Little Wolf is probably the. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's the cask expressions, I think is the name of it. I can't remember, but it's basically different different cask selections. So it's I think cider cask is one of them. There, it's I believe I think it finishes with um, a sherry bomb, or I can't remember the full flight, but it's I think that's a very interesting one, coming from a Scotch background and how wood can influence. Um, it's not that wood is everything, obviously, as American single malts are proving, with all their different. Um, I love that Bird Creek is doing a purple Egyptian barley, and stuff like that. I mean, that's the kind of experimentation I love to see, because it also shows, and I haven't. That's one I haven't tried yet, but as I understand it, it shows a great divergence of, flavor based on the malt, based on the spirit itself, and I think that that's great, because you can easily create a different flavor profile just with the spirit itself, without even using peat, without using mesquite, without using, so um, yeah, I think that that's probably my favorite, because it does show, like, how cask influence can really, create those perfect accents to the spirit that you chose. That's one of my favorites, anyway. I'd have to. I like the Colorado one too, because there is quite a bit of diversity in that one too, and there's no peated whiskey in there. It's just unpeated, um, and largely ex-American oak. There are some other types of casks involved as well, but it's largely either fresh charred oak or ex bourbon casks. Um, and there's some great whiskeys in there. We got Spirit Hound, we got Boulder Spirits, which we just tried. We have I think there's Deer Hammer. There's there's some great, and Stranahan's, of course, because you got to have Stranahan's. That's
Yep.
that's a selling point. It just is in Colorado.
Mhm.
And to be fair, I mean, like, we've been. This is one of those things that I think that one of the things that Stranahan's did somewhat recently, their new master blender is fantastic. I think he's doing a great job, and I just want to say that, because I had kind of lost faith in Stranahan's for a while, and I'm liking the stuff that's coming out a lot better recently. The, some of the expressions are really special, really good whiskeys. So it's good to see that they're putting a lot of effort into the blending, and that's something that I think gets overlooked. The blending side of things. You know, getting a good master blender is important, very important.
Yeah, Justin Aiden has transformed the flavor profile of Stranahan's.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He came into Little Wolf not terribly long ago, and that was a bit of a surprise to us. We weren't expecting that many people, but it was nice.
Yeah, the Snowflake and the Mountain Angel are really great, but there's really Stranahan's is an interesting case, because the first time I tasted Stranahan's was the old formulation of Yellow Label, and I found it kind of flat. Like, not bad, just not that complex. Like rich honey and malt and not a lot else. And I found a great cocktail spec for it, which was a smoked old fashioned, using one of those smoking kits. It actually worked really well for that. And instead of bitters, I used a rinse of aquavit. And that to me rounded out the complexity it was missing. And
Mhm.
then when I went and visited Stranahan's, it was completely different experience. The yellow label is all new. The blue label has a ton of complexity and also a great price point. And the whole portfolio, there's something a little bit different in every bottle, and it just kind of runs the gamut of finished and non-finished, non-peated whiskey. It's no surprise that a lot of people love Stranahan's, and
Yeah.
I wish that we could interview Justin Aiden, but that doesn't seem to be an option on the table for us, and we've been dragging our feet on closing the loop on getting the Stranahan's interview done because Proximo wants to have a little control over what it is that we ask. It's a lot of these interviews we do, like, we're just going to have a conversation and everybody's fine with that. And then some brands are like, send us a list of questions in advance. And that speed bump often delays those interviews by a lot.
Well, let's just say that, you know, here in a public forum, I'm not going to say all the things that I'd like to say, but um, I do love that they're producing great whiskey, and we'll leave it at that because it does make me a bit sad that you know, corporations have a tendency to behave like that, and you know, it should be, you know, it should be, hey, he's your guy, let him say what he wants to say.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, it is frustrating. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's yeah, I see it though, right? It's a risk versus reward kind of thing. When you're a small craft distillery, you do get a lot of points in social capital by being a fully open book, right?
right, yeah,
And
yeah,
big corporate PR firms, it is their job literally to control the PR message. And so they feel it's risky to just let people go and say whatever they want to say,
right,
especially if they don't have control over the questions being asked. So like it makes sense. I don't begrudge them their choices. It just unfortunately, us being a small podcast, um, we don't have the pull we need to have to do our podcast our way when we're talking to a giant brand.
yeah.
That's just how it is.
Well, and I'm not.
Stranahan's 12-year port finish, Mountain Angel, great choice.
Yeah, no, we. In fact, speaking about an angel, I just judged a competition last weekend. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this yet, but it won second best in show, and the 10 year. It's a fantastic product. It's excellent. The 12 year is also excellent. I think that won some awards too. But yeah, they're like I said, they're producing fantastic spirit. It really their sherry cask is, you know, um, way better than it was when it first came out. It's it's I think it's a product that's going in the right direction, which is something that's hard to say about a lot of corporate whiskey, but they're doing a great job. You know, hats off to them. But you know, it is you know, to that point, I'm not really big on corporations. I don't think that it's I do have a, as a former always punk rocker from way back. I don't I don't really pull punches when it comes to corporations and the way that they operate. Having said that, I got to give credit where credit's due too, and I think that there's a lot to be said for what they're producing these days. So I give them a lot of credit for actually taking the care to hire the right people to put out a good product. And that's huge. He's a very
We
knowledgeable
have
too. I spoke with him not very long, but spoke with him briefly, and you could tell he knew what he was doing, and it was good to see.
absolutely. Um, so Patrick has a lot of questions for us. Um, First of all, I think this is just a sarcastic question. Do they do flights? I just ordered whiskeys in an Uber. That's
Mhm.
the right way to do it, especially if you know what you want to try. Um, and he's asking you what is your favorite Scotch in the bar and your favorite ASMW in the bar.
Mm. Wow, that's a good question. At Little Wolf or Burns? Burns, my favorite Scotch.
I'm gonna say between the two, so include all of your Scotches, all of
Yeah,
your
I'd
ASMWs.
say it. Well, I mean, Springbank is my favorite. But as a distillery, my favorite expression. What have I been really big on lately? There's one. When I say lately, uh, I'm going to tell you right now. If you can find it, and you love your sherry bombs, go out and grab the Adelphi release of the Del Ewan 13 year. It's incredible. It's just unbelievably good. If you love your sherry bombs, that's definitely one that's been very high on my list the past couple of years. Actually, it came out about a year or two ago, about 2 years ago, I guess, and it's just amazing. But as far as I'll tell you my biggest surprise. I'm not a big Oban fan, and
I agree with you.
yeah, I'm not. And the biggest surprise for me was the 15-year, again, Palo Cortado. Maybe there's something to Palo Cortado. I don't know. But there's a Palo Cortado Oloroso finish, 15-year that Oban did. Unreal. Excellent. And again, credit where credit's due. I'm not usually a fan, but they did a brilliant job with that one. But yeah, I'm really loving the single cask nation products too. The Delphi and single cask nation, I think lately have been crushing it for independent bottlers.
I was in a store that had single cask nation, and every single one of those bottles I was sorely tempted by, but I had to stay focused on getting the 20-year the Nashoba American single malt that they were carrying in that store in Massachusetts, because that's why I went there, right? And I only had so much luggage space. That's not why I went to Massachusetts. It's why I went to the store.
Right. Yeah. Massachusetts is great. We love Mass. Yeah, so those are that's my latest and greatest, and I say that only because nobody's dethroned it lately. It was that Adelphi Del Ewan. I'm a big Del Ewan anyway. You only find them in independent bottlers.
Apparently, there's a Del Ewan 13 from SCN also.
That's also excellent. It is really good. The Adelphi's better, in my opinion, but that's no knock on that release, because that release is the one you got there is fantastic. It's also different, so it's more of a sherry bomb than that one is. But yeah, so that's kind of now, like, again, it was a one-time release. If you can find it. Although I did have a Glenallachie single cask nation that I believe was in that same batch of the Del Ewans that Del Ewan 13 year. I think it was released at the same time. It's also phenomenal. So yeah, those guys are. Josh is a great guy. Can't say enough good things about him. ASMWs, well, like I said, right now it's Auto from Spirit Hound. I love. We just did a Westward tasting with Mitch, and had some great whiskeys there. Those were excellent. But yeah, I want to bring up one whiskey from Copperworks that is incredibly divisive, and you know what to bring up.
Yeah.
The color cask.
Yep.
Is love it or hate it, it's incredibly unique.
I don't believe anybody. I suppose I believe anybody's entitled to hate things, but I think it's either love it regardless of price or hate it because of the price. But
Understandable.
I don't think there's anything bad about that whiskey. It's actually surprisingly good.
I've had, well, I think it's the balsamic notes perhaps,
Mm.
or whatever, but I don't know. There's something, we've had a couple people try it and they're like, yeah, you're right. That's an interesting whiskey, and then they will, like, I'm not gonna say it's bad, but yeah, not my thing or whatever. And I have heard people grumble about, like, there's some people that really don't like it. But
I guess when I think of divisive whiskeys, I'm usually thinking with things that have way more funky notes, right? Like
yeah,
sulfury whiskeys or
sure, yeah,
yeah, I mean, all right, fair. I mean, I guess when I tried it, there was a bunch of people around, we all tried it, we all liked it. The issue for me is spending that kind of money on a whiskey, which I mean, it's very good, but it's kind of one note. Like it's not super complex, and I really go for complexity,
sure.
especially at $300 a bottle.
It's not cheap. Yeah, we've got it at Little Wolf, and I definitely, when people come in and they're looking for something really unique and really special, um, that's definitely one I bring up to them, with the caveat that there are some people that aren't crazy about it, but I think it's so. I mean, like, it's the epitome of pushing boundaries, and I think it's a really cool whiskey.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the
the
story behind it is really
other
cool.
one is, what's that?
The
Yeah,
story behind it is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Another one is and I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this one as well. Is the Milestone from Westward. Um, I think it's special whiskey. I think it's great. It is one of those ones that's. I'm sorry, how much?
Yeah.
Kind of, but I think
I actually forget because the bottle I got was a gift from Miles.
oh, okay.
So I didn't pay for it. The bottle it's over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's 250
yeah,
ish.
about 250, yeah, roughly.
I've seen worse, but the first edition of Milestone was 83 proof. So 41.5% alcohol.
Mm.
And when you're paying $250 for a bottle of whiskey, that's a little insulting.
Yeah.
The second edition was much higher.
Yes. I think they got the memo.
And I liked it much more, actually,
And
both on flavor profile and on, why can't I find 48.5%. So
Yeah.
97 proof.
Yeah.
That's a significant difference.
That's a much more agreeable proof, and I think it's a great whiskey. I love it. I think they did a great job with that one. And we
It does
actually
have a really particular note on it that some people don't like, and I get it because you get the same kind of note from like old scotch, like old bottle effect scotch that some people don't get along with.
okay. Yeah, I guess I could see that.
It's like the dank note plus amberana. There's a little touch
It's
of
like
amberana in
old
here.
old books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about it that, like, occasionally I describe whiskeys in like a, I guess Onomanthiakis would say a synesthetic kind of way. Like, this whiskey smells cold to me, if that makes sense. Like I like, it smells like cold weather. It smells like when you step outside in the winter, it's cold, and you get that sharp, cold, dry air in your nose.
I'm going off of my memory, but one thing I know for sure, I get a lot of coconut, and it's a interesting note for especially for Solera, but I do get those fruit notes as well, the maraschino, but that coconut, note. Just I don't know where it comes from. It's very unique, very cool. But yeah, there is a hint of that old Scotch note to it too. I can see that too. I don't
I
have
tried a Ben Romick last night that had a really strong toasted coconut note to it, like
yeah,
the flesh of the coconut.
yeah,
There's only been a few whiskeys in my life that I've had that like coconut was not a reach to some degree,
yeah,
right? Where like coconut really is the flavor. The
yeah.
same way as like people describe a lot of bourbons as oaky, but I've only encountered one bourbon in my life that really tasted and smelled like oak.
So let me
It's
ask you this:
mostly,
when you
yeah,
as a you're a bourbon drinker, right? Doug?
occasionally.
Occasionally.
I mean, like you could
No,
also like
no, it's not. but but uh, so I did a tasting for the last 2 nights now with John Campbell. If you're familiar with John Campbell, he
Mhm.
former master distiller over at Lafroig and
Lockley.
Lockley, and
What's he up to now?
now he's in California, and he's doing a whiskey called Warbringer from Sesame Creek Distillery.
Okay.
They are doing a mesquite smoked bourbon, which is what Warburger is. And they have a couple of, first of all, the whiskey itself is unlike any other whiskey I've ever had. Um, I happen to know, I know through a friend, I know Josh Barnett, who's uh, involved. He's more famous for UFC MMA stuff, but he was youngest heavyweight MMA champion. But he's also I don't know if he's part owner, but he does work very closely with the distillery, and so I've actually known about it for a while. When I first had it, I was like, this is going to be a gimmick, and I tasted it, and initially I thought it was a gimmick. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized it's very well made. And now it's even better. And I don't know how much of that has to do with John Campbell, but I know that they've really kind of refined that process, and and it's very interesting to see. It's a very smoky, those barbecue notes. There's hints of jalapeno. In fact, one of the things that came out, especially in the cowboy bourbon for me, they say the cowboy bourbon. They call it a southwestern bourbon, but was
Oh, we're
Mexican.
not talking about Garrison Brothers Cowboy Bourbon.
No, no.
Or the Ragged Range Cowboy cut.
Everybody's got. This is actually
Everybody.
another MMA fighter who
Yeah,
goes.
well, yeah, the Cowboy Bourbon though, I forget how much it costs. It's at least $300. So we're still talking about.
It's crazy oaky too.
Yeah.
But the this one is really smoky, and it's funny. It was always funny because like I like when people come in and they're looking for. I'm a bourbon drinker. I like a really good smoky bourbon. And now when I hear people say that, I'm like, do you really know what smoky is? Like, do you mean smoky or do you mean oaky? And
It's the guaiacol is in fact like as a Scotch drinker, I find this hard to take on board, but they've studied it and there is actually guaiacol that comes into bourbon from
oh no,
the smoking or it's from the toasting charring process.
sorry, yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's changed my opinion of what a smoky quote unquote smoky bourbon is. The
Yeah.
mesquite is it's a whole new dimension. One of the most unique spirits I've had in a very long time. And I say that
Mesquite
I've known
filtered.
about it for a while, but right now it's mesquite filtered. This is mesquite smoked, so this is different. That's the cowboy bourbon um, from Garrison Brothers. This is a mesquite smoked bourbon. They use corn flake. Um, they're using red corn. It's a very unique whiskey. Well, actually, yeah, up on my board here next to my daughter.
Yeah, I was gonna say I see Warbringer written on your whiteboard.
Warbringer. This is the pricing for it and everything like that. But that was.
Oh, I can't see the pricing.
Well,
you have that correctly off screen.
Yeah, intentional. Yeah. No, that's the War Master and the Cowboy Edition is what the name of it is Cowboy Edition, and it's because they have a because of Josh Barnett, they've got a MMA slant to it. They've got another edition coming out with a female MMA fighter coming out soon. But I just thought it was interesting that John Campbell would get involved with this distillery to begin with, let alone, you know, he says that their mission was to be kind of the Lafroig of whiskey or of bourbons, and
what does that mean? I wonder what that means. I would want to ask, what does that mean?
The smokiest, richest bourbon there is, the most strongly flavored, richly flavored. Well, I mean that's Lafroig's thing, right?
The most richly flavored of all Scotch whiskeys, or something along those lines.
Yeah. So, but yeah, very, very interesting. If you get a chance to pick it up, it's a very, very interesting whiskey. I'd like to hear your take on it if you get a chance to try it.
Yeah, I'll see if I can.
Distributing it up there in the Pacific Northwest. Josh Barnett's from Seattle, but
I'm sure I can either get in touch with them or find somebody who can comp me a sample.
Sure, well, I could probably send you a sample. I'm not going to overnight it this time, though.
No, please don't spend extra money getting samples to me. Also, you know, I think shame. I don't know. Whatever it is, I feel like it's verging on political. But USPS, UPS, FedEx have all been a lot less reliable lately.
Yeah. I've been waiting on a refund on something that I shipped that disappeared.
You get like the insurance, the value of the package.
I just want what I paid back, and they said that they'd do it, and it hasn't happened yet.
The one that you shipped to me?
No, one that I shipped to somebody in Texas.
Oh, okay. And they never got it?
No, the tracking went dead day after it left, and then they said that they didn't have it in their system. So
yeah.
Speaking of things not getting delivered, if you guys hold down the fort for 5 minutes, I'm going to check the mailbox and see if that Hogsback did actually.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, you bet.
On the note of smoky whiskey that isn't single malt, one that I am happy to point people towards is the Liberty Pole peated rye. They also do a peated bourbon, which is totally different from like pretty much any other rye or bourbon on the market. And if somebody's looking for a smoky rye whiskey or a smoky bourbon, that's who I'd point them towards.
Yeah. I've never heard of that one. I don't know if that's distributed here, but I'd like to try that. That sounds. Is it as unique as it sounds?
Oh yeah, It is, I think, a really good integration of the peat smoke, like the phenolic and slightly rubbery smoke, and then the like herbaceousness and spiciness of the Monongahela style rye. I think they meld well together, and they come out with a totally different product at the end. And I'll make sure that you get a sample.
Okay, I'd love to try it. Yeah, absolutely. There was another one that we briefly touched on, and I totally forgot to mention this when somebody asked me my favorite at Little Wolf, and that was the what you brought up earlier. I did mention it, but that cigar malt I forgot about. That's another one that I think is probably one of my favorites. One of my top 2 or 3 at Little Wolf for sure. Yes, sir.
His glasses aren't going back to normal.
Any news?
Okay, now I'm back. I can hear you again. I shouldn't have taken the headset with me because it got disconnected.
Oops.
So yeah, no such luck. Apparently overnight doesn't mean what it used to mean.
No, I took it early yesterday too. That's upsetting. Thanks USPS.
On the topic of Cedar Ridge, though, I would like to say that their flagship Quintessential is one of my go-to recommendations for
Yeah,
folks who are just wanting to get into American single malt whiskey.
it is. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it also opens the door to a fairly large catalog of interesting single malts, like the Pieta de Amontillado.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, they've got. I mean, what Murphy's done there is nothing short of spectacular. He's really created such a unique uh, portfolio at that at that distillery. Really really special spirits. And very unique as well. I do want to give a shout out to another uh, friend up in Fort Collins, Sebastian Gavier, who is producing NoCo Distillery. Have you had the NoCo American Single Malt?
I have not.
Okay, he only does it once a year, and it's very small batches. Primarily, what he does is he's a mad scientist. He's one of those guys that you'd swear is might accidentally blow up the world kind of thing. But he's just brilliant. I mean, and the reason why I bring it up is because that cigar malt, that and thinking of other um, cigar malts, he produced a cigar malt that is nothing like any other cigar malt I've ever had, and it's one of those things where it's like a preposterous fermentation, and I think it was like just insanely long. But he's one of those guys that you talk to, and it's like, I don't care how much you think you know about whiskey, this guy knows more. He just the way that he operates, the way that it really is mad scientist kind of stuff, and he's doing it quietly up in Fort Collins, Colorado, and take a look at some of the stuff that he's doing if you ever get a chance, because it's he's a madman. He really is. One of the most svelte guys you'll meet, but in that head, there's some wild stuff going on, and it's very cool, very cool. He's producing some very very interesting and unique spirits. On the topic of unique spirits, and why will my phone not shut up?
Someone important must be calling.
I turned. Go. I don't know why it's doing that, but anyway. So yeah.
Let's see. Did we get to all the questions? Oh, are there? Yeah, here was a good question, I think. I'm not quite sure what this question means. If you want to clarify, Patrick, care to define your palate favorites? I assume that's just like what kind of tasting profiles you personally like, Jonathan. But while we wait for a clarification on that, this is a good question. What sells more, finished or non-finished American single malt, or do people not pay attention to that?
I think finished is probably selling a bit more. Um, Mainly, I think because the people that are interested in American single malts are coming from the Scotch world, not from the bourbon world. That's just what I have been. That's something that I've picked up on, and I think that you've got people that are a lot more open to the idea of finishes, as where bourbon people tend to like their you know um, vanillas and caramels and stuff like that. And again, not knocking it. It's just that that's the flavor profile that they're going for, as where I think Scotch people tend to gravitate towards American single malt for a couple of reasons. Number one, that I think the uh, the spectrum of flavors that you can get from it that they provide, and number two, because Scotch is crazy expensive these days. So
Yeah, which helps American single malt, because American single malt by and large is has a pretty high floor,
yeah,
aside from a small handful of expressions. Because in Scotch, it's fairly easy to find a bottle under $50 from dozens of distilleries. I think there's maybe 5 or 10 at
yeah,
most American single malts that are under American single malt brands that have bottles under $50. I used to say actual bottles, but then Virginia Distillery Company kept on putting out bottles between $30 and $45. So they've done a lot of that. They've really managed to consistently hit that low price point.
yeah,
Which is not to say it's not high quality stuff, because it really is. They just
yes,
somehow have achieved economy of scale, doing a lot of contract distilling
yeah,
that allows them to subsidize the price of those products.
right,
Same reason, scotches like Glenfiddich, Glenlivet are can be so cheap, is because they just do so much volume.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I hate Macallan. You can't do that kind of volume and charge those kind of prices. It just doesn't make any
Yep.
sense.
That's a
Uh,
great way. That's a great succinct criticism of Macallan. Because it's one thing to complain about the prices for what you get. It's another to say,
15 million liters annually.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
another to say, you guys have absolutely no excuse for charging those prices because of the volume you do.
Well, they wanted to build a new distillery, so you I don't know. It's one of those frustrating things when you really know whiskey, and uh, people still gravitate towards Macallan, and you still get people coming. I still get people coming in saying, "Oh yeah, but it's not better than a Macallan," and whatever. You just shake your head and okay, But my gripe about Macallan really boils down to pretty much what I just said: the price point, the volume that they're producing, and everything like that. But also, yeah, I realize that they don't use artificial colorant, but they still chill filter. And to me, if you're going to try and keep yourself on this pedestal that everybody, um, Michael Jackson included, has put you on, then you know you have to hold yourself to a higher standard. And in my opinion, and that's to be called whatever you want to say, the kings of Scotch or whatever, which they certainly portray themselves to be. Then you need to be able to hold yourself to a higher standard than chill filtering your whiskeys and charging preposterously prices, charging 25-year for your 18-year, charging what everybody else charges for their 25-year, for your 21-year what everybody else charges for their 40-year, whatever. It's just insane what kind of prices that they're trying to get for higher age statement whiskeys. Is it good whiskey?
It's all right.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, one of the things that I do at Burns a lot is I like to do blind tastings. I like to we do them all the time, and I like to throw in a Pappy. I like to throw in a Macallan. I like to throw in some whiskey that everybody is high on, or the market is really big on and likes to tout as, and it's not to make a fool of them, because it's blind. I don't say anything. I don't try and sway anybody. any way whatsoever. It's just, let's see what happens. And I've been surprised myself. Redbreast, turns out a lot of people really love Redbreast. Uh, and it's not that I don't love Redbreast. I think it's great whiskey. So that wasn't a huge surprise, but it was a surprise that it was like, such a favorite among American or Irish whiskeys. But uh, what I've done several times is throw in a Macallan, and I've never seen Macallan, come anywhere near the top of the list. Whether it be sherry cask matured whiskeys, whether it be 15-year-old whiskeys, whether it be, whatever. Macallans never score very high because I just don't think that they have the complexity of other well-made, well-crafted, you know, single malt scotches. Oh, there's a throwback.
I paid less for this than I would for a 15-year-old Macallan.
Oh yeah, no question.
For the people listening, that is a Tom and Toole 21-year-old.
Yeah, it is wonderful stuff. I think this is a distillery that doesn't get as much love as it should. It isn't a really like big aggressive flavor profile, but it's got a very nice, pleasing.
Yeah, where did you get that? How long ago?
I got it last year from hard to find whiskey.
Yeah. Makes sense. That makes sense.
And I think I paid just under $200 for it, which is a lot for me. But
yes, but it's an incredible price for a 21-year-old Scotch.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Especially vintage. So that's to that point, there are other whiskeys out on the market today. A great example actually is give me the 25-year-old Enoch, which is a sherry cask, over Macallan 18 any day, and it's the same price. It's just insane that it's it's so much better, and the higher age statement. If you're going to go on, how we gauge our pricing and everything like that is age statements typically. So they're just lots of them. Glenfarclas is a great example. They don't gouge people with their pricing, and yet they produce some wonderful. Their family casks are incredible, and yeah, they're nowhere near the prices of Macallan's. With Macallan, you're paying for a name, you're paying for status, something to show off to your buddies at the water cooler, whatever, and that's. Is there a place for it? Sure. It's just unfortunate that it's kind of ruining the market a bit. But when there's so many other more deserving whiskeys that are trying to get just a fraction of this they have, but I don't want to bag on Macallan too much, but I
yeah, we only spent 5 minutes doing it.
Yeah, so 5 minutes is pretty good for me.
It might have been longer. So when you're stocking the Little Wolf Bar or even the Burns, do you optimize for variety of things to try, even if you think some of those things just aren't going to move because of the price,
yes,
or because the brand has a negative reputation, or
negative reputation? I don't know about that, but
I guess negative reputation is a very subjective thing, but like
it is, yeah.
What do I even mean by that? I don't mean that like they're involved in anything nefarious, just that maybe people expect it not to taste good or something.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, like as Britt brought up Cardew, because Cardew does have a negative reputation for Scotch drinkers, primarily because of what they did, with the pure malt thing or back in the day. But yet I put it on the shelf because sure, I should have Cardew represented. Let's give it a try, and it sold out. And it didn't. I mean, it took a little while, but nothing crazy. And so I never restocked it, just because it's not one of those ones that I don't think it's very good. In fact, I don't think it's good at all. And it's just not interesting enough. I'd rather have something that somebody's going to come in and they're going to try because you say they were looking for something unique, and it does happen quite a bit. And you say, well, what you find out what their flavor, what their palate is all about, and then you say, well, that I got just the thing for you, because this is one not a whole lot of people know, but it's fantastic, and so you get to try. So it doesn't sell great, but it's an interesting whiskey, and it's a good whiskey. I think that in the end, that's that's the that's the profile I'm going for at both restaurants. There's whiskeys that I won't carry at Little Wolf, American single malts that I don't want to carry, primarily just one, but there's you know what it is. but
Is it in the chat right now?
I don't know. I don't see the chat.
The comments tab. Yeah, that's the one that Phil was showing. The same one. The same one.
No comment.
We've done a fair amount of there's certain brands that we don't feel too bad about targeting as being negative examples, because partly because, like, look, we don't really have any brand affiliations, and we know we're not going to take any sponsorships from those brands ever, right? So aside from the slight risk of being branded as a podcast that says negative things about brands, I think that as consumer advocates, it's good for us to say, don't recommend these particular products to anybody if you want them to have a good experience with American single malt.
Yeah, and that's that's really I don't come on podcasts to bash products. I actually much rather talk about the products that I endorse. And
yeah, exactly. That's generally the approach we take for the most part.
Approach, and that's why I'm not going to say it, but but yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about price. It's just there's nothing redeeming about having certain.
Yeah.
Like if I was, bourbon's not going to get me in trouble, especially if we pick on the big guys. If I was gonna start a bar and I needed a well bourbon, I would not pick something in a plastic jug. I can't even come up with a name. I probably wouldn't even pick Old Crow as a well whiskey, right? I would probably aim for at least Evan Williams for a well.
Sure. Yeah.
And I just, because that's my standards, right? Like, maybe having a cheaper well does better for your margins, but as a whiskey lover, I have standards.
Well, and to be honest with you, I've had the Claremont Steep. Oh, now I've said it. Okay. But yeah, I've had it.
But not in the same sentence. You can't be taken out of context.
That's right. I'm going to reword this a little bit. So, my issue really is with the integrity of what the push for fresh charred oak, and that just really it doesn't sit well with me. I think that is look, you weren't you weren't there when Steve started the commission, and you weren't there all along the way. You come in late, and then you're going to try and dictate what the regulations are going to be.
Right. So you read their comments on the TTB open public comment period, right?
Yeah.
So I agree. It's not so much that you're choosing to use new oak. That's completely valid. In fact, Boulder,
that's allowed.
Boulder is a great example of, I mean, most of what they do is in new charred oak, at the very least primary aging, and Stranahan's same deal. Everything they do is new charred oak originally.
Yeah, I
Um,
think Westward does as well.
and westward, right? So like new charred oak is a valid approach, but it is only one approach. And saying that the regulation, advocating, lobbying even the regulation
That's
to
right.
be restricted to new charred oak,
Yeah,
that's where they rub me the wrong way.
that's 100%. It is the antithesis of what the category was trying to be when when Steve and the guys got the commission started and started going pushing it in the right direction. And I will 100% say right direction because it is the right direction. It's integrity, but it's uh, it's counterproductive, and you're going to come in as a Johnny come lately. And I have a history with large corporations trying to suppress things that I wanted to do um, from a commercial standpoint, and that's why I think it probably chafes me a little bit more than most. Again, my background and not having respect for corporations and the way that they operate, but but primarily this kind of thing is coming in and saying no, that's not what American single malt whiskey should be. You didn't start the commission, and that's what bothers me about what they said. They know they said it. They know they did it, and I don't think that it's now in the end we're better off. We're great. We're fine.
We got there.
But I don't want to carry the product. It's just that simple.
Yeah. And likewise, I don't want to endorse a product, but I also they made it easy on flavor, right? Like
Yeah.
regardless of the politics.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't.
Congratulations, you made an American single malt whiskey taste like a bourbon. Well done.
But not only that,
A
a relatively poor one.
Right.
Right. It has some faulty notes. It has
wet cardboard.
as long as we're poking fun, right? I said it tasted like stale crab cakes, and I stand by that.
Ooh.
I said that the first time I tasted it, and then forgot that I said that, and then came back 2 years later and tasted it again and said the same thing.
I think I've only tasted it once, so I don't know if I can't remember exactly what I thought originally, but I know that I did think that it tasted like bourbon. So and like you said, not a great bourbon.
Yeah. So to this point, when I was a kid, like 6 years old,
you were drinking whiskey.
So Carrie didn't know. Again, no. To be clear,
I don't want to know what that tastes like either.
Yeah. So Carrie Daniels asks, I don't want to eat a stale crab cake to even know what that tastes like. It's not a question. He just says. To clarify, when I was like 6 or something, I had a habit of ordering a crab cake at every restaurant that had that on the menu. So the very first time I was a connoisseur of a food was crab cakes. And so I've explored crab cakes everywhere from way too much bread to way too much crab. And like, you can't complain about way too much crab as long as it's good quality crab. But sometimes you get a crab cake that just tastes a little off.
Fair. Yeah.
From the Gulf? Actually, yeah, probably, because most of this was in Texas or Florida at Disneyland.
As I understand
whichever
it,
one is in Florida.
Problem.
Some of Texas, right?
Just saying.
Yeah. Texas. So I guess I was older than 6. When did we go to Disney? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I went through a phase. The very first thing I was a connoisseur of was crab cakes. And let me tell you, the sauce makes the crab cake, but you also have to have the perfect balance of breading to crab. Too much crab, it falls apart.
Okay,
Too much breading, you're not getting a crab cake.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say there's and the crab has to be a good,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had lots of crab cakes where it just tastes like, mushy bread, just not enough crab.
Mm-hmm. Which is definitely not the worst failure a crab cake can have.
Fascinatingly, my note on that particular whiskey that made my friends laugh was dry day old biscuits in a damp cardboard box. Like if you
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
takeaway biscuits that were dry and they got put into a box that the heat moisture got to, that's the note.
And then you have limp biscuits.
Ooh.
Oh, that hurt. That hurt.
Are you good for a couple more questions? Because I think there's a couple good ones in here.
Sure.
But also, we were talking about Glenfarclas, and Ethan says Glenfarclas also has an ASM connection with 10 Mile. I don't know what the connection is though.
Are they supplying? Are they supplying casks?
Yeah, Ethan, if you could clarify.
Yeah. What is the news that I'm not aware of?
Patrick asks, do you have the Calhoun Family Reserve Red River single malt whiskey?
We do not, but I'm going to write that down right now. And Calhoun family. All right. I'm not even familiar with it. Could you tell us something about it? I'd love to know.
Okay. Chat has devolved into catching fish and crabs. So also chat, I advise you not to catch crabs.
Yeah, I understand that is not a good time.
So yes, it is from Colorado. But besides that, so you may be able to get it for Little Wolf. I assume all of Colorado's within your distribution network.
Self-distributed or something like that, maybe. Let me see.
Yeah, so Colorado has some local barleys and root shoot malting has a bunch of different barleys. So there's a good question here
Yeah.
that's probably relevant. Do you have any whiskeys that use local barleys to Colorado that stand out to you?
That use local root shoot, obviously, but
Yeah.
and I do like root shoot quite a bit. They're very nice. I think I'm trying to remember who is using. I know. I think Root Shoot is providing a lot for most of the Colorado distilleries. I think get most of their. I'm gonna have to look into which ones though. I'm not sure exactly who's getting, but I know they are supplying barley to a lot of the distilleries locally. But that's a good question. Very good question. I'm stumped on that one. I mean, I know distilleries that are using them. I don't know if they're using them entirely. And I'm trying to think of some that are touting that they're locally grown. I know NOCO uses a lot of locally grown. Their kind of thing is locally grown, and yeah. So I'm drawing a blank on. I know Boulder uses at least partially locally grown, so I know that. But yeah, there's some. Actually, no. Spirit Hound. Spirit Hound uses locally grown.
We're back on Spirit Hound.
Back on Spirit Hound.
They win on all metrics.
Yeah, there's no reason to not recommend it. But yeah. But Root Shoot's providing a lot for both beer and the distilleries. So
yeah, Root Shoot is great. I've been talking to them for a long time, and somehow we've never put an actual interview together.
You should.
So gotta remember to reach out again. All right, I think this is a good last question to go out on. If people had to have a takeaway about selling people on American single malt whiskey, what's the most successful approach to encouraging people into American single malt?
I would say that it's I would say that there's an American single malt whiskey for you. If you like whiskey at all, there's an American single malt whiskey for you. If you don't like whiskey but like other spirits, there's probably an American single malt whiskey for you too. Um, I think that Scotch drinkers can get into American single malts. I think bourbon drinkers can get into American single malts. Irish whiskey drinkers, but even so, rum. There's some sweeter ones. There's some, there's even ones that I think mezcal drinkers. People that like a mezcal or a tequila could get into. So, and that's kind of, yeah. There you go. Yeah.
That's one that was popular with the mezcal drinker at my D&D table.
Was that the
It was.
that was the Thornton the smoky one?
Yep.
Yeah, I've had that one. So yeah, that's basically it. I think that the people that aren't drinking American single malt whiskey but drink whiskey just don't know what it's about. They don't know.
We may have lost him, folks.
I know. It wasn't me this time.
Well, that's a great opportunity to say, yes, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Check on people, especially in the whiskey community. Make sure that people are, have good habits and everything. And if you are concerned and you want community support to do a quarterly dry week, we do ours roughly the first week of every quarter. We're doing it the week after 4th of July. For the Whiskey Lodge and Single Malt Frontier and any other communities I'm involved with, because I'm kind of the dry week person. That we have fully lost him. That's okay. I will send a thank you after the fact. We're gonna lose his upload, which I was actually really hoping to have on this one because we need to remaster the levels.
It happens.
Yeah,
we always do all right.
But yeah, on the note of what month it is also Pride Month. And I just want to say, and maybe I'm going to stick my foot in my mouth a little bit, but as a man who has mental health, I really think we should be paying way more attention to Pride. I think both are important, right? Everybody's mental health is important. Pride supports a whole group of people who are way worse off than men, broadly speaking, are.
And that does include subsets of the category of men, because not all men are straight. And there's a lot to be said about, if you are attempting to maintain these standards of masculinity that have been broadly enforced upon us, talking about, when you are having trouble, when you are struggling, is difficult, especially when part of why you are struggling is tied to your identity as a person outside of the relatively rigid framework of being a man.
And Jonathan said he lost power. He has it back. He might rejoin us. But before he does, I just want to do the thing that I keep forgetting to do, which is thank our patrons.
Yes.
So real quick, thank you very much to everyone who makes this show possible. Our founder tier, Carl Reinsch, insiders, Ethan, Mark, Kevin, and Randall. Our supporters, Mr. Friedland and Patrick Hagner. Thank you all very much for making this show possible. You all have funded more than half of a trip to Nantucket at this point, which that was a trip that when I told my wife I'd have to spend over $500 getting there and back for a 5-hour visit at a distillery to record a podcast, all I can say is if I didn't have a Patreon backing that, the answer would have been no. So you all really made that possible in a very real way, especially when I was unemployed. And where else would that money be coming from? So thank you all so much. If anybody listening to this is interested in supporting what we do, you can In the description of the video and the podcast, wherever it is that you're listening, we're on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, which gets us into a lot of places. We are not on Spotify because of technical difficulties that I haven't figured out yet. And we're, of course, on YouTube. Anywhere you can see the notes on demitaste.com, on patreon.com/singlemaltfrontier. You can find the link to the Patreon. You can support us however much you want. The lowest tier we have is $5. I think you can do a custom write-in or something like that if you want. If for some reason $5, $10, or $25 a month does not work for you, talk to me and we'll figure something out. Just let me know what you'd like to contribute. Really, thank you all. It does mean the world, and it makes this thing possible, because we were getting to the point where I would have had to stop doing it because it is expensive to run this thing. Turns out streaming costs, let alone the whiskey costs, it's a real thing, and when you've been doing it for long enough, it matters. So I don't know. I'm stalling to bring Jonathan back. Oh, his computer died in the power failure. It wasn't a laptop. So not just the internet, but the computer. Shall we wait for him? I think we should wait.
Yeah.
I think we answered like every question and comment in the chat. Anyone have any new ones?
We should come up with some funny questions to ask. Ooh, we should ask him what the strangest finish he has encountered is, because that's something that I've been thinking about lately, because I've seen some interesting ones. And Patrick wants to ask about Leopold Brothers.
Also, I will say, just highlighting this comment from before, we name and shame all the time. So if you hang out in our Discord, you'll see the names. The community is not shy about having strong opinions.
Ooh, pie or cake? This one is worthy of debate, because this is a complex topic, because I think it's really important to get down to specifics here. What kind of cake are we talking about versus what kind of pie?
And also, I'll throw one back at you. Cornbread with or without sweetener? You like your sweet or savory cornbread?
Ooh. Oh yeah. So the head distiller at 10 Mile, Shane Fraser, worked at Glenfarclas, Oban, and at Wolfburn, which is interesting because Wolfburn is a relatively young distillery. He is also
That's not usually the iteration of this comment that I see, but yes. I like my whiskey straight, but my friends could go either way.
So on the topic of cornbread, growing up, the person who I had cornbread or who made cornbread the most when I was eating with them made it in a cast iron skillet. And
Cast iron skillet cornbread is the goat. That is the one true cornbread. Yes.
And the proper way of doing it was to get the skillet screaming hot and pour in the batter. And it was not too sweet, but it was made with sweet cornmeal. So, specifically, she liked to use like the like more traditional like cornmeal style, and lots of butter, and oh, it's so good. And now I'm hungry.
I'm just gonna say it though. Sweet cornbread is superior. Savory cornbread is for barbecue. If you've got something else that's fatty or sweet or both, barbecue sauce, and you need something as a contrast to that, that's great. But my favorite cornbread is actually cornbread pudding, which is a Thanksgiving staple in my family.
Okay.
Where's the next barrel pick from? Is that a question for us?
See, I keep lobbying for Catoctin Creek, but they don't.
Yeah, so this is a many-faceted question, right? Because now effectively we have 3 entities that might be associated with me doing a barrel pick. It is either the Whiskey Lodge or Single Malt Frontier or 3 Guys 1 Grain. The Whiskey Lodge and Single Malt Frontier did the McCarthy's pick as a collab, and it's co-branded, right? If you can see on the sticker, Single Malt Frontier and the Whiskey Lodge. And the Whiskey Lodge co-branding was because this pick, I would not have had the connections to do this pick or any of this if I had not been in the Whiskey Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really important to that. The Whiskey Lodge does want to have their own branded thing that is not a single malt. And so there you have Catoctin Creek as a strong contender.
And mostly because I've been standing on the roof yelling it while waving a stick. Ah,
hello, welcome
Hooray.
back from a new device.
Yeah, yeah.
We've been stalling.
It dawned on me that the power outage also rebooted my Wi-Fi, and that takes a while to. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah. But it also dawned on me while during that intermission that it actually is a good segue to something that I'm doing, the next tasting that we're doing at Little Wolf, which is going to be a lot of fun. But your question, being that or I believe it was a viewer's question about getting people into it. One of the things one of the ways that I'm going to try to get people into it, and it could backfire, I suppose, but what the next tasting we're doing at Little Wolf is going to be called the Malt Whiskey Battle Royale, and it's a blind tasting pitting. It's going to be a lot of fun. Blind tasting pitting American single malt whiskey versus American or Scotch single malt whiskey and single malt whiskey from around the world. So it's going to be 4 different categories, and we're going to have a sample from each. One American, one Scotch, one world, and they're going to get to vote on what their favorite is. And we're going to see how people opinions change and see what they really kind of gear towards. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah,
I love blinds.
So-
Blinds are the best way to have people who think they know
absolutely.
what they like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we came up with a bunch of rapid fire questions if you'd like to.
Sure.
So
for my new device.
All right. So pie or cake?
Pie or cake? Pie.
All right. Sweet or savory cornbread?
Oh, semi-sweet. Yeah.
All right. The chat basically agrees with you. What's your favorite kind of sandwich?
Cubano.
Oh,
Ooh, great choice. What else did we come up with?
Oh, the strangest barrel finish that you have seen recently.
Oh man, there was one. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh my God, what was it? There, yeah, there have been some strange ones for sure. But I'm trying to think. There was one that just kind of, and I can't remember what it was. Too, I've drawn a blank on that one. It was some kind of. It was some kind of wine cask. My age is catching up to me. Yeah, it was some kind of wine cask, but it was a weird wine cask, and I can't remember what it was.
Not Rioja.
No, not Rioja. Not Tokai. No, what was it?
Plum wine?
No, I have seen that before though.
Waller.
Yeah,
Umeshu.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it'll probably hit me right as soon as we hang up. But yeah, that one. Yeah, that one's. There was there was the one that Kilholman came out with not too long ago, the Casada cask, which I thought was an interesting one. You don't see that very often. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen that before. But yeah, that one, and then there was another one after that, and I can't remember what it was. But that was the last one. That was kind of an odd one.
All right, and the last question, and don't let the fact that you're on Single Malt Frontier sway your answer to this, because we don't explicitly encode a country in that name on purpose. Scotch or American single malt?
Yeah, I see why you had to preface that one. It's still Scotch, but American single malt is definitely catching up. Mainly, yeah, rapid fire. It's still Scotch, but it's closely followed by American single malts now. And like I said, I've liked American single malts for a long time, but I think that we're living in the just such a great time for American single malts, because now you're just seeing so many great expressions coming out. It's making your head spin, and it's hard to keep up with them all. Um, Hence why I can't remember that one cask, because it's like I know it was an American single malt too, and I can't remember what it was. But anyway, yeah, um,
Maybe the chat
that's
knows. If
yeah,
there's a weird cask that stands out to you in American single malt, drop it in the chat.
yeah. Yeah, at least I'm almost positive it was an American single malt. But yeah, that's the longish answer. But yeah, I'm right now. I'm really big on promoting American single malts though, because I think that it's just an exciting category, and frankly, Scotch doesn't have some of the things that I think American single malt whiskey has. For one, the integrity built into it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting point. I guess as a culture, most of our whiskey is not colored. A lot of it is filtered, but a lot of the people making American single malt whiskey don't choose not to chill filter.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there's that.
And that was they were saying that bourbon holds itself to that standard. I never understood why Scotch doesn't. But if bourbon holds itself to that standard, then how can Scotch allow it? But at the same time, inherently, just going from what the history of Scotch, the all of the hi sweetheart. This is my daughter coming to say goodnight, and she loves. This is her picture, by the way. This is speaking of Scotch. That is a glam orangey. It's an
Nice.
orange that's glamorous. There's a paparazzi taking its picture. Glam orangey. That's what.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic.
Isn't it? There she is right there. So yeah, that's I totally forgot where I was on that. But yeah, no, the structure of Scotch, if you will, the complexity, everything like that, and it's the groundwork for whiskey worldwide. Everybody's trying to emulate what they do. Even here in the States, we're doing a variation of what you know technically began in Ireland, but you could argue was perfected in Scotland. So it's I think that that's something to be said for that. And the fact of the matter is that it's still you know some of the most complex whiskey, or some of the most complex spirit that has ever been made. You know.
Yep. I'll say I think I agree with you. I mean, I run this podcast, right? In a rapid fire, I would say American single malt, but if I had to sit and think about it, most of I drink single malt for most of a quarter only, basically. Every once in a while, I'll have a bourbon or a scotch. I mostly drink scotch when I go out and meet other people who still mostly want to drink scotch. And I
Mm,
enjoy those nights. Like I have no issue at all. In fact, I welcome it. It's a change of pace for me. Um,
yeah.
I think I have more favorite distilleries among scotch than among American single malt. But the overall level of quality, like on average, of the expressions that I try and the level of interesting, American single malt wins as a category for me because Scotland is
Hmm.
you know, there's old traditions and pretty much everything is made just about the same way.
Hmm.
And especially
Yeah.
if we're talking about modern Scotch that's gotten, for the most part, gotten rid of direct fire and worm tub
Hmm.
and everything being lightly peated. The newer style of Scotch is less compelling than the older style of stuff. So if I had to break it down further, I'd say modern Scotch, not that interested. Old era Scotch, yes, please.
Yeah,
American single
you're
malt is my
well, your
go-to.
Springbanks and your yeah. I agree. But I will say this about that is that with the new era of Scotch is that it does give another option for
Mhm.
people that aren't into old world Scotch. So it's good to have both, in that respect. But in the end, it's like, yeah, I'm still going to gravitate towards the lightly peated to heavily peated to the sherry cask matured, the dual cask matured, the stuff that has more compelling and interesting things going on. The Glenkinchies of the world don't really interest me. There's but and then you're starting to see, well, a good example is Glengarry. Glengarry is turning back to direct fire. They're turning back to doing their at least 25% of their own floor maltings. They're going back to the old ways, and that's great to see. And hopefully American single malt whiskey lights a fire under their butt and says, at some point, I don't think it's going to happen anytime real soon, but I think that at some point, hopefully, Scotland will take note and say, hey, listen, these guys are producing some very high integrity stuff, some interesting stuff, some experimental, great flavors, all that stuff. And we need to, start upping our game a little bit. It can only be good for everybody. So it's a good, hopefully I don't think it's going to be happening real soon, but hopefully in the next 5, 10, 15 years, we'll see it really kind of move the needle, if you will.
Yeah, we are coming up on 8 p.m. for us, 9 p.m. for you. So I think it's time we shut this thing down. Thanks for
Yeah,
coming back after the power failure.
absolutely. Yeah. Sorry
Yes,
about that.
we had a little
That was a
encore.
weird thing. Yeah.
We don't
Was
usually roll this long. We try to wrap in under 2 hours, but every once in a while. And this was a great conversation. Thanks
Mhm.
so much for the extra time.
Absolutely. You bet.
Uh,
You bet. It was great
there's
talking to you guys.
one last thing I want to ask you is,
Uh-huh.
do you have a go-to uh, toast to cheers us out?
It's a little bit blue. No, I can't say that one. Um, it's sad to say I don't. I have a few that probably are just not very child friendly. See if she's around here, but no. Um, no, I don't really have one as a go-to, but uh, there's the old classics, you know. But let me see. Geez, you stumped me on this one. How is
Does
that
does the
possible?
does the Burns Pub have a sort of motto or a toast or something like that?
We don't. The one that like I said, I've got a few that what was the one that we used to do. Uh, God, that's sad, isn't it? No. I don't do I don't do toasts very often. I really
Now you've
don't.
got you've
I
got
know, and
homework
I feel
now.
terrible. I know. Now I'm gonna have to go look something up. I used to do some a long time ago, back when I first started doing tastings. I'll be honest, tastings now have become such a festive thing, and we just kind of like to have fun with them and everything like that. And the toasts have just kind of fallen by the wayside. In fact, it wasn't until last night when John Campbell did a toast that it really dawned on me that we haven't, that even when we have guest speakers coming from Scotland, they're not doing toasts either. And it
Hmm.
was very strange. But he did one, and I was trying to think of what he did. Is uh, yeah, I can't even remember what it was. But yeah, hate to disappoint you guys, but yeah, but like I said, the only toasts I have are ones that are just not safe for the airwaves.
Fair enough.
I'll
Well,
tell you.
how
I'll tell you. I'll type it out to you. I'll text it
Okay.
to you.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then you'll say, "Yeah,
I'll have a
probably not."
sensible chuckle later. I'll send it to the Discord so they know.
I've got one that I've probably ripped off of somebody, but
Let's hear it.
Aren't they all ripped off?
here's to water, malt, and yeast, the real champions of every feast.
There you go.
That's a good one.
Good one.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
And until next time, we'll see you around.